long before Johnny Law got his grubby little hands on it, it was the mid-size SUV to own. Following its debut in 1990, it quickly rolled over the competition and kicked off the SUV revolution. Here's everything you need to know to get up to speed on the Ford Explorer. Big thanks to Turo for sponsoring this episode of Up to Speed. Renting a car can be a hassle sometimes, which is why I use Turo. I actually really do. It's super affordable and convenient compared to the other car rental places, and you can choose from over 850 makes and models. Plus, Turo's available in over 5,500 cities, and if you want to make it really easy, you can have the car delivered to you. Thanks for making life easy, Turo. Click the link below to sign up and enter the promo code SPEED25 to receive $25 off your first ride. 1990 was a tumultuous time in American history. Milli Vanilli got caught allegedly lip-syncing. Jonathan Lipnicki was born, and the Ford Bronco 2 was being discontinued because, amongst other things, it kept rolling over. But Ford was basically printing money thanks to the Taurus's domination in the sedan market, which you can learn about right here. And they wanted a new mid-size SUV that would decimate competitors like the Chevy S10 Blazer and Jeep Cherokee. And thus, the first-gen Explorer was born. You gonna be in Jurassic Park? Yes, you are. Like the Bronco 2, the Explorer was derived from the Ford Ranger, but unlike the wobbly baby Bronco, the Explorer's U platform was 2 inches wider and significantly longer, 12.6 inches for the two-door and a whopping 22.5 inches for the four-door. Yeah, I said 4 doors. 4 doors! Anyway, offering a 4-door version was a huge deal to customers because it made the Explorer a practical family vehicle while maintaining the machismo of an off-roader. Soccer practice in the front, off-road sports car in the back. Basically, it was the mullet of family vehicles, and the 90s loved a mullet. From Billy Ray Cyrus to Uncle Jesse, everybody was sporting a mullet, even frickin' Superman. This modern family truckster was powered by a 4-liter Cologne overhead cam V6, good for 160 horsepower, and came with your choice of a 4-speed automatic or 5-speed manual with rear drive standard and 4-wheel drive available for big boys who drive through puddles. The first gen was an immediate success and sold over 1 million units during its 4-year run. Not only did it outsell its Chevy and Jeep rivals, but it outsold all foreign SUVs combined. Speaking of foreign SUVs, the Mazda-Ford partnership of that era meant Mazda got their own variant of the Explorer. It only came with 2 doors and a hatch, but what it lacked in doors, it more than made up for with the badass name,
the new Navajo from Mazda.
In fact, the name was so badass, Motor Trend picked the Navajo over the Explorer for its 1991 Truck of the Year. Zoom, zoom. More like zoom, boom, muchacho, in your face, Ford. But not really. Ford wasn't even that mad because any vehicle can win a friggin' trophy, but only one vehicle can get shredded by a T-Rex in the baddest dinosaur movie ever. You know what I'm talking about. Land Before Time! Oh no, a sharp tooth! Oh, the Explorer comes to save the day! The second-gen Explorer dropped in 1994 with a lot of attention focused on increased handling and control, a fully independent short and long arm front suspension, and a new rack and pinion setup replaced the recirculating ball steering. I'm gonna put a pin in the subject of handling because it's gonna be a big part of the story later. Ford offered an optional 5-liter V8 that was good for 210 horsepower. Doesn't that seem insane nowadays? A 5-liter V8 with like barely over 200 horsepower. Now we have like 3-cylinder turbos with like 250 horsepower. Sales were astronomical, and the Blue Oval sold over 400,000 units a year.
Oh yes, that's nice.
Ford also fancified the Explorer and sold it as the Mercury Mountaineer to the people who thought they were too good for the high trim level Eddie Bauer Explorer and all its tan two-tone glory. Ford harnessed the power of branding to sell over 1.5 million Eddie Bauer Fords across their lineup, and it's considered one of the best brand collabs of all time, second only to Linkin Park and Jay-Z. But if you really wanted to blow your dough on a second gen, the only real option was to go full Celine. Yeah, even Celine, who is known for adding go-go juice to Mustangs, got in on the Explorer action with the XP8. Cool. They added a supercharger, aero, Recaro seats, and a few options like a carbon fiber hood and 4 piston vented brakes. The Celine was only supposed to come with a V8, which puts out 286 horsepower. But one time Ford accidentally sent them a shipment of V6 two-wheel drive Explorers, and instead of sending them back, Celine said, screw it, let's supercharge these baby boys and sell them as XP6s. Celine was making fast SUVs way before the Porsche Macan, the Jeep Trackhawk, the BMW X6. Now, where is that pin I stuck earlier? Oh, there it is. We were talking about how Ford wanted to improve handling, and not just because they wanted to dominate autocross, okay? Because they didn't, that wasn't in the plan. As I had mentioned before, the Bronco 2 was so prone to rollovers that Consumer Reports warned against buying them. Apparently, this was news to Ford, who was crapping brown ovals because much of the first gen and early second gen Explorers shared the Bronco 2's handling characteristics. Project manager Roger Simpson was tasked with resolving the issue just months before the Explorer's release. His engineers tested the vehicle at Ford's Arizona Proving Grounds and submitted the following report. Upon further examination of the Explorer's high-speed stability, we have determined the vehicle sucks. Roger knew the only way to truly improve the handling was to add 2 inches to the wheel track, thus making the vehicle's stance wider. But they couldn't do that without creating a whole new platform, which would cost millions and millions of dollars. So Ford did the next best thing. They recommended the tires be partially deflated to 26 PSI and the suspension be fitted with softer springs.
Don't use a size and type of tire other than that originally provided by Ford. Otherwise, the safety and performance of your Explorer can be adversely affected.
That penny pinching solution worked great. Oh wait, no, sorry, sometimes I get the word great mixed up with the descriptive coupling of super omega ultra terrible. Ford's lame Band-Aid fixes didn't stop the Explorers from rolling over like a son of a And this is where things get heavy. The poor handling resulted in hundreds of fatalities and thousands of injuries. And while it was easy to throw stones at the Explorer, the bottom line is SUVs of that era all suffered from lack of rollover stability. But since American consumers were going nuts over the high sales margin SUVs, manufacturers turned a blind eye to the problem. Oh, your things roll over? Nah. A fact that is best shown in this Drake meme. By the mid to late 90s, Ford changed the suspension setup in the second gen and were designing a wider, more stable third gen. But the problem with selling 400,000 Explorers a year was that there were over 1 million poorly designed vehicles on the road. And as the death toll rose and lawsuits were filed, Ford realized they needed a scapegoat. And this is when Firestone came into play. Firestone had been supplying tires to Ford since the Model T, but nearly 100 years of partnership didn't stop the automotive giant from driving right over them with a bus. You see, Firestone made the steel-belted radials for the Explorer, and there had been reports that in hotter climates like Arizona or SoCal, tread separation had been linked to some of the rollover fatalities. Okay, now since Firestone was already in hot water for accidents from tire separation, Ford figured they would just blame all the rollovers on Firestone.
This is a tire issue and only a tire issue.
This led to a major legal throwdown between the two former friendly companies. In fact, there were even congressional hearings on the matter. And you guys know how hard it is to get Congress to go to work. Unfortunately for Firestone, they came ill-prepared for the showdown in DC, as Ford had the backing of hundreds of lobbyists and sympathetic politicians. Ford even enlisted the help of Car and Driver to make a propaganda video showing how stable the Explorer is in spite of the Firestone tires.
As far as the charges that the Explorer is unstable, we've seen just the opposite.
The result of the hearings and various trials nearly bankrupt Firestone, costing the company almost $1.7 billion. And Ford didn't come out smelling like roses either. They lost $500 million. All because they didn't want to scrap production and add 2 inches of cushion to the corner cushion. The saga also led lawmakers to pass the Transportation Recall Enhancement Accountability and Documentation Act in 2000, known as the TREAD Act. What a fun coincidence. The legislation was designed to protect consumers from future safety oversights by auto manufacturers. In 2001, Ford launched the 3rd Gen Explorer. It was completely redesigned from the ground up and was no longer derived from the Ranger. It was wider and longer and even offered a 3rd row seat. By this point, most manufacturers were making comparable SUVs, and there's really nothing of note to say about the Explorer other than they did away with the 2-door model and the manual transmission option. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. For the next 11 years, the Ford Explorer was a pretty basic bitch.
That's why I love it. He gives the people what they need to hear. All right, brother.
But in 2012, something glorious happened. The 5th Gen, which was based on the Taurus unibody, got the 365 horsepower Show EcoBoost power plant, which was available to consumers in the Sport trim line and available to cops in the Respect My Authority trim line. Ford recently revealed the new 2020 6th Gen Explorer, and auto journalists are freaking out about the seats. Cool. Comfy seats. But there is actually a lot to be excited for. For starters, there's finally going to be a hybrid Explorer, which is great because it can offset the emissions from the new tire-burning ST trim. Ford also revealed the all-new Police Interceptor. Despite being a large crossover SUV, the new Popo-mobile is actually the fastest cop car in America. The 3-liter V6 all-wheel drive Interceptor is over a second faster from 0 to 100 than the 5.7-liter V8 Hemi found in the 2-wheel drive Dodge Charger, which means people like Nolan are going to be lining up at police auctions to get their hands on all that cheap government performance. Thanks for watching Donut Media. If you guys didn't watch it, I would just be some weirdo hanging out with my friends, talking about cars in my bedroom. You know, we got a ton of new shows coming up this summer. Make sure you don't miss any. Hit that subscribe button. Actually, Colby, let them know what the subscribe button looks like, because, oh, you can actually just click this guy right here. This circle is a subscribe button. If you want to learn more about cop cars, check out this episode of my other show, Bumper to Bumper. You want to learn how to get away from the cops? Check out this episode of Nolan's Show. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at James Pumphrey. Follow Donut on Instagram and Twitter at Donut Media. I love you!